When my husband and I got married, I was quite possibly the poster child for a traditional vanilla relationship. It never would have occurred to me that I would eventually find myself in a female-led relationship with a cuckold husband. As with many new experiences, the right partner makes all the difference. I've heard repeatedly from various sources, and I wholeheartedly agree. You need a strong foundation in your existing relationship before attempting an alternative sexual lifestyle that will involve other people, such as swinging, cuckolding, hotwifing, etc. If you do not have solid communication and trust between you before you bring other people into your relationship, you cannot expect your relationship to survive the addition of new people. Communication was important to both my husband and to me from the moment we first met. Our path to the female-led relationship only reinforced that need, which is what made it possible for us to honestly discuss and prepare for the possibility of cuckolding when we came to that phase. It wasn't originally on the table for either one of us. My anxiety doesn't eagerly look forward to meeting new people in intimate settings. It was the fantasies. The fantasies kept giving away exactly how excited I became when he talked me through being with someone else. I would insist it was just a fantasy. Except I was so obviously turned on by the idea, and that's exactly what my husband wanted. He wanted to see me so excited that I lost control, even if that meant seeing me with someone else. I have a much easier time with fantasies than reality. Fantasies don't trigger my anxiety. Reality just creates a list of unknown variables, and the list of what-ifs was incredibly long. One of my biggest fears was being seen by someone who knew us or knew our kids. We live in a large town. It's not even a small city. My husband convinced me to just let him set up a profile online to see what was out there in our area. He promised to make it a fictionalized profile that wouldn't clearly identify us, because that was also one of my fears. It wasn't more than a week before he'd become familiar with how the site worked, and he was able to show me who was out there. I'd never used an online dating platform, and I only used social media to keep up with my kids. I was glad my husband did the initial groundwork on this site, or I would have been overwhelmed and just dropped it. I took a few minutes to process what he showed me, and then we started reviewing the features and the profile he'd created. I suggested some changes to the profile with slightly more accurate demographic information, and we discussed some options in the filters. I didn't want anyone to know who we were, but I wanted any search results to be accurate. At this point, we only had a profile with no pictures. There were a handful of messages, but I was largely getting used to the idea of it more than being ready to actually meet anyone. It was maybe a month or more before my husband recommended adding a photo to the profile. My anxiety went into full gear at the idea of putting a photo online. Many of you have recognized that we use an AI avatar for these videos in order to protect our privacy and that of our teenagers. My husband was suggesting a photo from the neck down, so I finally agreed. Almost within minutes of posting the photo, our account was flooded with messages. As I've stated, I have my husband deal with things I find overwhelming. So, I had him go through the messages. I'm glad I did, since a large number of them were just stick pictures, and we ignored those. I talked about the importance of communication earlier. Before we began our journey into FLR, we navigated other issues, including my husband's insecurities. It was part of those discussions that initially brought out some of the things I find attractive in men, and now that my husband was monitoring our profile on the site, he was able to do a pretty good job selecting men I would be interested in seeing. Again, because we worked through our issues before starting this phase, we were able to maintain the trust and commitment of our initial relationship. My husband showed me men he thought I would like, and I realized we were discussing the possibility of my initiating a meeting with these men. If you're enjoying this content, please click subscribe in the bottom right-hand corner.